Internet, how's it going? Welcome back to the podcast. And you've probably noticed a few things differently to last week. The camera's different, the lighting's different, the sound's different, but guess what? It's still not perfect and good. Even looking at this camera now, I look like I'm still in my pajamas, but I promise you, I am not. Last week, the podcast wasn't great. Not that the content weren't great, but the sound wasn't great, the camera wasn't great, the room wasn't great. And believe me, there was resistance there. There was resistance to upload because I would have been seen as anything other than the perfectionist. And that's what this podcast is all about. The perfectionism mask and where it actually comes from. Now, this podcast being uploaded today wouldn't have been uploaded if I didn't upload last week, and I wouldn't upload the next week's one if I didn't upload this. So imperfect action creates momentum, and it's momentum what's going to get you to where you need to be. Momentum can take weeks, days, months to build, but can take moments to break. And I'm feeling very powerful right now. I am completely in momentum in all areas of life. And I've even got the laptop in front of me. And that's because I struggle with short-term memory loss. My ADHD was formed through, unfortunately, childhood trauma. And if I have to create a podcast now with the laptop there and notes, then so be it. This is who I am, and I am being my authentic, true self. Now, I have had to do a lot of work around the perfectionism mask. I've done a lot of work around the wounds, the childhood wounds, where it comes from. And I am very proud of the coach I am now, that I've lived everything I speak about. I've done the work around everything I speak about. And the fact I can go so deep on a human and soul level, which can bring to you then life-changing podcasts. And why do you think I'm doing a perfectionism podcast? Because it's something I have struggled with for so long. So even making notes now, because I want to bring you the most powerful content, I wouldn't have done that a year or two ago. I wouldn't have even shown my face, because one, I was making notes and I didn't want to be seen as anything other than the perfectionist of having it all together. And I also wouldn't have done it a year or so ago, because that would mean if I made notes, I am not good enough. But if I need to make notes because of something like my ADHD to bring you the best piece of video and content and information, then so be it. And what can you take from that? You can take from that if I can be imperfect, that I can show my true self, then you can too. This is permission for you to go away and do the same and be your imperfect self, because it's actually imperfect action what's going to get you to where you need to be. So let's speak about it. Where does it come from? What is it? Now, I'm going to say, first thing off the bat is you're not a perfectionist, and you need to stop labeling yourself it, because what you're doing is you're actually self-sabotaging your future best self. So you're self-sabotaging the potential you could be by labeling yourself a perfectionist. Perfectionism is actually fear disguised as high standards. So your perfectionism is just fear, but you want everybody else to see that you've got high standards and you have it all together. So now you are good enough. It feeds your ego, it feeds your enoughness. You are not different, I'm sorry to tell you. People label themselves as perfectionists, like the doctor got his gun out when you were born and labelled you with some special tag that you're a perfectionist, and you are different, and that has to be you for the rest of your days. But that is not true. The perfectionism mask actually has to be created. It has to come from somewhere, and you can change it, and hopefully with this information it will help you change it and actually realise the cost of you being a perfectionist. So let me repeat that again. The doctor didn't make you special. You are not special. The perfectionism mask is actually fear disguised as high standards. And I'm actually really proud of how I'm going to deliver these podcasts, because like I said, I wish I had me all these years ago who actually understands childhood trauma and wounds and men's work and even female work and energetic work and where this all comes from. Because right now we have social media full of growth mindset enthusiasts, men and women screaming affirmations at the mirror. We live in constant positive energy. I am a bundle of joy. I am a positive thinker. Well, I am here to tell you that is one, spiritual bypassing, and number two, perfectionism, because they are scared to be seen as anything other than perfect to the outside world. So where does that actually come from? Well, it comes from not feeling enough. It comes from not being good enough for the world, because Also, perfectionism can actually stall you from becoming who you want to be, because people will use I'm a perfectionist, so I can't try X. So a lot of these perfectionists in their industry are perfectionists in their industry, and they're scared to try anything else because the perfectionism in the industry makes them amazing. And there's even resistance as I say this. I can feel it in my soul and in my stomach, because I'm speaking about myself here. My old line of work, I was the best at what I'd done. Everybody in the outside world see me as amazing. I was literally the top of the pile. I was the best there was. I was the best in the game. So what did that do? That fed my ego, and that fed my good enoughness I couldn't give myself. You could say the man I am today is actually 5 or 6 years too late, because that life, that identity of me was gone and dead many years ago. But he was too scared to try anything else. Why was I too scared to try anything else? Because if I wasn't good at it, that would then mean I wasn't good enough. So what happens when I don't try? The ego and the little boy in me can't be damaged. So you see all these people who want to say, I'm a perfectionist, I won't even try that because I'm too much a perfectionist. What they're actually trying to say is, I won't even try because if I fail, that means I am not good enough. It protects their ego. It protects their ego from outside judgment. Because if they're criticized for making mistakes, what happens there? Shame and guilt then riddles through their central nervous system. And that's what this is. Your central nervous system cannot handle rejection, not feeling good enough as the little boy or the little girl. This isn't mindset work. Your central nervous system is formed through 0 to 7, 7 to 17, and your mind reacts to your central nervous system. So somewhere along the way, your central nervous system was formed on performance-based love. What I mean by that is, when you performed in an area, then you were good enough. I'll come back to your parents in a second, but let's even speak about the schooling system. When you perform at a certain class, let's say maths or English, when you perform a test and you get good marks, congratulations, you are now good. You are put in a certain level, in a certain category. When you perform at a certain level, congratulations, good boy, good girl. So even through the schooling system and society's norms, our central nervous system is formed through performance-based love. Now, if you have parents who were very much giving you their attention and their love, dependent on how you performed, then you learned you only got love through performing. How many of you are listening to this who are entrepreneurs, whose mum and dads are entrepreneurs? My mum and dad was tough. My mum and dad just want the best for me. Yeah, maybe. But if you only got their love and affection and acceptance through performance, that now means you need to perform to feel good enough. And like I said, this is your central nervous system being formed from all your insecurities, all your issues growing up, which then forms your adult self. Again, the perfectionist who is too scared to be seen as anything other than a perfectionism. Same as entrepreneurship. When you're an entrepreneur to the outside world, you look good enough. Look at him driving that car. He has his shit together. Look at him with all that money. He must be amazing. So how the perfectionism goes into entrepreneurship is, you go into entrepreneurship to feed your good enoughness because you couldn't give yourself the good enoughness or the love. So the money and the external validation gives that for you. Also, if you were an athlete growing up or you were extremely sporty talented, what does that mean? When you perform, you are the best. How does that equate to me? Growing up, I was in newspapers for football a lot, so I was good enough when I scored all these goals. Then I went to elite professional gaming. I was all over the websites, all over the world, all over YouTube. I was the best there was. I used to get recognised outside of gaming, so when the gaming community was growing, that offered me the good enoughness. In my early 20s, what offered me the good enoughness? The Joker mask, money, looking funny to the outside world, all why? Because I couldn't give it myself. In my late 20s, the perfectionism mask was in the business, and I went and earned the most money I've ever had. Why? To give myself the enoughness and the loveness I couldn't give myself. So entrepreneurship, sports-based training, athleticism, being good at corporate world, climbing the corporate ladder, all the perfectionism in your workplace, all that is a mask for you're not good enoughness. Now listen, I ain't saying it's bad, because you obviously need some of these traits to get you to where you need to be. The purpose of these podcasts is to make you aware, because the actual perfectionism mask can actually self-sabotage you from be getting better and better, trying new things. A lot of people ask me how to find a purpose. It's found through new action, but through that new action, you have to not be good. So the perfectionism mask, you carrying yourself and labeling yourself as a perfectionist, might actually be stopping you from living the life what your soul truly desires, becoming who you was always meant to be. Also, being a perfectionist means if you don't act, you can't fail. Identity stays safe. Again, all these people who say they are positive thinkers, what does that mean? They are seen as the positive thinker. They try anything else, they can't be seen as a failure. And remember, these people, they try and hide from the darkness of life, but the darkness of life will not hide from you. So when these people scream that they are positive thinkers, it is not true. It's just that they can't feed themselves the good enoughness without looking so perfect. Also, it's unfortunate, but what happened when you were growing up as a child? What did your parents not give you? Did you come from a chaotic home? Something I can resonate with a lot. Did you come from a home which meant you had to try and be perfect so that it wasn't chaotic? You know, we can go deeper into this. Violence, whatever it may be. What happened when all that was happening at home? This is something really close to my heart. Did you try and act perfect? Did you have to come across as, look at me, mum and dad, I am good enough, please don't act in a certain way? If you got blamed a lot as a child, if your parents blamed you a lot for their wrong actions, you will then grow up needing and trying to be perfect. Why? Because your home was chaotic. Perfectionism now gives you control. You act in, this is where mine comes from. If again you want me to be open and honest, this is where mine comes from. The athlete, the entrepreneur, the business, the muscle mass, the performance. Why did that mean so much to me? Because when I was in control, when I done everything perfect, when I done everything to the T and done nothing wrong, was a mask for the chaotic home I could not control. And you're probably like, why is he sharing this? And that's because I will always share how it comes back to me. Because if I could have me them years ago, I would have loved to watch me, because the journey of self-development, self-mastery, the spiritual of becoming, whatever you want to say it, however you want to say it, just knowing you're not alone in the journey can be so powerful. Just to know that you're not alone. And again, perfectionism, the brain, that is certainty, right? The brain doesn't like certainty. The human spirit, we are packed animals. The central nervous system is meant to be part of a tribe. So you being anything other than accepted by society, family, friends, the schooling system, what does that mean? That means you're on your own. Our brain and central nervous system does not like it. Now the next point is actually quite funny. You become the high performer because you've once been emotionally unseen. And what does that mean for me as a high performance coach, which is hilarious, right? Because I'm the one who labelled myself it. And one day I will come away from it, believe me. Because where did the high performance name come from? Will it come from the guy who starved himself at a fast? The guy who didn't touch sugar for a year? The guy who slept at 9 p.m. every single night for 3 years? All of that was control. Control to give myself the enoughness I couldn't get from myself. Control to the outside world to give me for the enoughness I couldn't give myself. Because if I looked anything other than high performing, what happened? The little boy in me didn't feel good enough. The little boy in me didn't feel seen, didn't feel loved. But again, where does the emotional uncertainty, being emotionally unseen, come from? Well, it comes from growing up. Could be from relationships. Where couldn't you be yourself? Are you in a job what isn't aligned to you? Are you in a relationship where you have to be somebody you're not to get loved from the other person? Did you have to act in a certain way for your parents to get any sort of validation? We can go deeper and deeper, and I can go on and on. Honestly, I'm telling you, this is my life's work. This is where I am most powerful, and this is where I am in most flow. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to go on for too much longer. I want this to be really short and powerful. I can do versions what are longer, but if you prefer these short and powerful versions where I am closer and just straight to the point, then please let me know. But I have got so many years and decades of pain, trauma, self-development, self-mastery, wounds, mass men's work just to give to the universe in a unperfect way. And like I said, I feel so in flow because right now I don't have to hide from the world. I don't have to hide from anybody that I'm trying to be somebody I'm not. I'm in an imperfect setting, reading notes because of my ADHD, and guess what? I feel right at home. So internet, if you can get anything from this, this is your permission to go away and be your imperfect self. Because imperfect action is what gets you momentum, which gets you into action, which gets you results. Don't get stuck in the middle where you're just busy and chaotic. The middle part, I'm a perfectionist, so I keep swapping and changing things. How long is that gonna last for? You could waste weeks, months, years before you get your life's work out to the world because you are quote unquote perfectionist, but that middle messy work, what actually never comes to fruition, feeds your ego. You are good enough, but I am here to tell you, you are just keeping busy. It'll tell you that you're good enough, but you will not actually grow. You will stay in the loop of perfectionism and you will stay in the loop of not truly growing. Do not mistake chaos and uncertainty and messiness and busyness with productivity. So like I said, I hope you take a lot from this. If you need me to go deeper into any of the points I've ever made, I have that ability and capability to do so. I absolutely love speaking about all these topics what are so close to my heart, and I will try and make sure the podcasts are aimed at both entrepreneurs and the average person who just wants to learn more about themselves. So internet, that is podcast number 2 done. Next week it'll be a little bit better again until we get to that perfect podcast. But guess what? It's the momentum what matters, not the quality, and it's the content in the podcast what matters more than anything. So internet, that is me. I am Coach D. Connor. Catch you in the next one.